Big drama in Beijing this week as a prominent dissident escaped house arrest and sought refuge in the American embassy on the eve of a visit by Secretary of State Hillary Clinton. The U.S. says it negotiated blind activist Chen Guangcheng's release and a guarantee of safe treatment. But Chen later said that China threatened his family if he didn't leave the embassy, and that the U.S. had urged him to make a decision quickly. Now he fears for his family's safety, and he wants asylum in America, and it looks like he may get his wish with a visa to study in the United States. So what does the episode tell us about modern China and about Obama's China policy? Brett, dramatic escape. I mean, he climbs over walls to escape house arrest, injures himself, gets driven by heroic colleagues in the human rights community 300 miles to Beijing, stays in safe houses for a while before they say he's got to go to the embassy for safety. What does this whole episode tell us about China?
Well, I mean, during the Cold War, getting into the embassy gates would have been the happy ending. Now, it didn't quite work out that way. Look, what it tells us about China is that contrary to this school of thought, that here is a country that is ascendant, that is increasingly confident, that is going to be the second great pole of power in the 21st century. This is a regime that is terrified of blind legal activists who are living under house arrest in little villages. Regimes that are afraid of a single person, the way this regime is, are not as powerful as they seem.
Mary, go ahead.
I just want to add one quick point to what Brett said. And the dilemma for China under these circumstances, being this hugely important country, a large country, is you cannot conduct your internal policies as though you were, say, Venezuela or Cuba, which is what they're doing here. A country of this importance simply can't operate that way, and the Chinese government has not figured out how to come to terms with its role in the world and the reality of people like this.
Mary, what do you think about the way the U.S. has handled it this week?
Well, it seems like once Chen got into the embassy, he was there with bad timing for the U.S. because Hillary was going there to have this economic dialogue, and I think he was rushed. I mean, I think it turns out looking like a case of the blind leading the blind. I mean, they didn't really know what they were doing. They felt like they were under a lot of pressure. And I think they ended up saying to him, look, you got to make a decision right now. And that really doesn't look very good.
You know, and it's such a break with the best American traditions. In 1956, a Hungarian cardinal named Mindszenty, during the Hungarian Revolution, sought sanctuary in the U.S. Embassy, found it, and lived in the embassy for 15 years. 20 years ago, after Tiananmen Square, a Chinese scientist named Fang also found sanctuary in the embassy, lived there for a year. That standoff was eventually resolved by the first Bush administration and by Henry Kissinger. Why was it so urgent for the Obama administration to get this done in 6 days?
Wait a minute. They said that the administration says that, in fact, Chen had said he didn't want to go at first to the United States. He always wanted to stay in China. So once they negotiated his safe treatment, he was willing, he under his own volition, was willing to leave because he was going to be reunited with his wife and his daughter.
The question is whether he was rushed into making that decision. And he didn't have much information from the outside. I mean, he didn't know what the circumstances that his wife was living under, which were apparently pretty harsh in the last couple of weeks. He didn't know about that till he got out, and that's when he got worried.
And was it right for the U.S. to trust the assurances of a Chinese government that, yeah, let him come out, we'll let him study in another city, get away from those local thugs? Or is it an assumption being, look, the Beijing government was complicit in this all along?
I would say the latter. I don't think there would be any expectation whatsoever that Chen was going to be allowed to go somewhere far away, as they said, in China and live in peace, because that's not the way the Chinese operate. And as far as the U.S. government goes, they came over there, Secretary Geithner and Clinton, with an agenda on other things which they considered important. Mr. Chen is what someone once called an inconvenient truth. Okay? This is what happens in China, and it happened to land right in the middle of their meetings with the Chinese.
But, Brett, can you, as in the United States, allow any dissident who wants to come into the embassy and seek asylum? Or how many Chinese can you let come in and say, yeah, I want asylum? Can we take everyone?
Well, we can take as many as we possibly can. That's what the United States is about. That's why they had Lady Liberty during the Tiananmen Square demonstrations 22 years ago. If we fail at that, we're doing ourselves a disservice, we're doing our values a disservice, we're doing the Chinese people a similar kind of disservice. That is what we stand for. Everybody understands this. He wasn't going to the Russian embassy, he wasn't going to the Cuban embassy, he was going to the American embassy. We have to honor that mission.
Point of pride should be for most Americans that they keep coming to the American embassy. We have to take one more break. When we come back, hits and misses of the week.